Hello those who are watching this video. Well, before I started my speech, I just kind of wanted to apologize that y'all cannot see the visual, but I assure you that for my final presentation you will be able to see it, and there are a lot of pictures on it that I'm going to be sharing, so if you cannot see those, I am very sorry. So without further ado, here is my speech. Hello everyone, my name is Katie Brock, and my topic of study in the Independent Study and Mentorship Program is zoological medicine. 2 years ago, when I began my journey in this program, my teacher, Coach Wysong, asked all of us to pick a quote that described what we want our journeys and our experiences in this program to be like. And for me, I've known I've wanted to be a veterinarian since I was about 5 or 6 years old. So I knew I wanted my quote to talk about my experiences in pursuing and accomplishing our dreams. So my quote is, "Dare to live the life you have dreamed for yourself. Go forward and make your dreams come true," by Ralph Waldo Emerson. So as I have said, my topic of study in this program is zoological medicine. And basically what this means is it's a branch of veterinary medicine just in regards to free-ranging and captive wildlife species. So it's basically just a fancy term for being a zoo veterinarian. Now, what do veterinarians do? Well, veterinarians are very similar to human doctors in that they carry on visits where they do diagnostic testing to see if there's any potential things wrong with an animal. They provide preventative care, which is vaccinations or prescribing medication in advance for a disease or a deformity that can happen down the road for that animal. They help to treat illnesses and also to diagnose diseases. They also perform surgeries and other various medical procedures, and they also help by prescribing medication. Now, what are the different kinds of veterinarians? Well, a lot of people just think that there is the one kind, the standard that deals with your dogs and your cats. But there's a lot more than just small animal, which is what that branch is. There's also large animal, which isn't probably what you guys think it is. A large animal veterinarian works with livestock or animals that you would find on a farm, like cows or goats or pigs. There's also zoo animal veterinarians, which is what I hope to do, and these are the people who work with your lions, tigers, and bears, and they work in zoos to make sure the animals that are kept there are healthy. There are equine veterinarians, and these are veterinarians who work specifically in horses. And this is actually more common than you probably think it is, because as we live in Texas, I'm sure y'all have seen the fields and the ranches that have plenty of horses on them that need veterinarians to take care of them. There's also exotic animal medicine, and this is something most people don't know a lot about, but these are the veterinarians who typically partner with small animal practices, and they work with the exotic animals or the exotic pets that aren't quite dogs or cats. These are the animals that are like iguanas or snakes, chinchillas or guinea pigs, things of that nature. And then finally, one of the big categories of veterinary medicine is lab animal. And so these are the veterinarians who work to help bridge the gap between human medicine and animal medicine. So these are the vets who are going to work for like the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. And they work and make sure the monkeys there that are being tested for like Ebola or Marburg or dangerous viruses like that, they're examining the medical side in the animals so that they can help with the human doctors to understand what is going on. Now, if you are wanting to become a veterinarian, there are certain characteristics that you should probably have to help you achieve your goal. And the first is being able to communicate effectively. As a veterinarian, you have to work a lot, not just with animals, but also with people. So you need to be able to help carry on a conversation and be able to talk to someone and communicate effectively what is wrong with that animal, procedures that you need to take to help that animal, and things like that. You also need to enjoy math and science. That is the bulk of what we do in this career, and so if it's something that you do not like, this might not be what you're meant to do. You also need to be able to manage your time wisely. In a small animal clinic, this is apparent because they're having to manage appointment times. So they have to make sure they don't spend too long with one patient when they have another patient that's scheduled. And they also have to make sure they schedule surgeries and they have enough time to do those without tricking off their clients. And in regards to zoo animal, being able to manage your time is important because you have a lot of zookeepers that call wanting to fit in looking at an animal into your schedule. So you have to make sure you're very good at managing not only the appointments that are on the calendar for that day, but also managing in the animals that are call-ins that you need to help. Now, what are the educational requirements? Well, being a veterinarian educationally is very similar to becoming a doctor, and a lot of people don't realize that. Just like doctors, we start in a 4-year undergraduate program in a major such as animal science, biology, chemistry. In my field, I'm doing biomedical science, which is biology in regards to medical-based stuff. And after your undergraduate, most people try and go straight into vet school, so they want to get their DVM. And unfortunately, this doesn't happen for a lot of people. Vet schools have a very high rejection rate, so in the years that they're waiting to apply again, a lot of people take that time to be a veterinary technician and to get experience that way. A lot of people do volunteering for animal shelters, and they basically just try to increase the knowledge they have and to gain things for their resume to set them apart next time they apply. And then after vet school, when you are a doctor, a lot of people try to go into an internship, which they apply for, and from that internship, you get a lot of more hands-on experience. And if you want to specialize, a lot of people go ahead and do a residency. So for zoological medicine, a lot of people do residencies in zoos because it is such a specialized field. And from that residency, you also have the option to get your board certification, which if you ever meet a veterinarian who is board certified, they are very, very impressive because they've had to take some of the most specific tests that the veterinary field has to offer. Now, the first part of the ISM program is figuring out who our mentor is going to be. And part of that process is scheduling informational interviews, where we try to call between 5 to 10 people and set up interviews with them to talk about their experiences in the field and also just to get general advice. And so for my second informational interview, because my first interview was with Dr. Bonner, my second interview was with Dr. Rebecca Block, and she is the Associate Veterinarian for Fossil Rim Wildlife Center. And this was very different from your conventional zoo vet because Fossil Rim is a wildlife center. So instead of having a lot of the stuff that zoos have with keepers, they are a wildlife preserve, and so they focus on research and conservation, and they actually have a very small veterinary clinic where they handle pretty routine procedures, and some of the harder things they actually go out into the field and into the preserve to help treat the animals there. My next interview was with Dr. Anna Jane Marler, and she is the Associate Vet at Fort Worth Zoo, and we talked a lot on this visit about the other parts of zoological medicine other than just the veterinary side, because there's a lot of research going on in the zoological medicine field right now in regards to looking at these diseases and looking at immunodeficiencies in animals and seeing how they translate to human medicine. And there's also a lot of research about reproduction and how humans and animals are related. My next interview was with Dr. Jan Rains, and she is the Associate Veterinarian at the Dallas Zoo. And Dr. Rains and I talked a lot about college. We talked about how I need to make sure when I apply to vet school, I really need to apply early, like my junior year, because vet schools do let you defer, and there's a very good chance that you'll be rejected upon your first time applying. We also talked about what would be a good major for me, because I was between majoring in biomedical science and zoology. And her advice was your undergraduate major really doesn't have that much effect on whether or not you get into vet school. They're looking for these basic requirements saying that you've taken a biology class or a chemistry class or a math class. And as long as you're in a field and you're in a major that's interesting to you, that's the major that you need to be doing. And my final interview was with Miss Carrie Slipka, and she is the head nutritionist for the Dallas Zoo. This is one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done because it was so unique. Because she isn't a veterinarian, she's a nutritionist. And so the first thing we did on our interview was she gave me a tour of the entire nutritional facility, which is brand new rebuilt. And I think probably the coolest part was actually going into the refrigerator where they keep all the meats, because they have a wide variety of things that they feed to these animals and to provide enrichment. And I thought it was really interesting that there's this one anteater that she actually has who won't eat anything unless it's coated and rolled up in like applesauce or in baby food. And so I thought that was really interesting that a lot of these animals are actually eating things that us humans can eat. Like gorillas, a lot of their diet is based on sweet potatoes and green vegetables. So that's something that us humans need to do a little bit better job at, is making sure we're getting the same nutritional requirements that we would have in nature. Now, as I said, my first interview was with Dr. Chris Bonner, and this was the best interview I think I've ever had in this program. Dr. Bonner is a graduate of Harvard, where he got his undergraduate degree, and he also got his DVM from UPenn. He is a member of a multitude of different professional organizations, such as the American College of Zoological Medicine, the Association of Zoo Veterinarians, the Association of Avian Veterinarians, the Association of Amphibian Reptile Veterinarians, Association of Fishery Veterinarians. The list goes on and on. He's very amazing. He has so many accolades. Dr. Bonner is also board certified, which to me is his greatest accolade because it means that he passed probably the most specific test in the entire veterinary field. I mean, they ask questions like, what is the anesthetic procedure on this one article when there are hundreds and hundreds of articles that are in the literary repertoire? And he actually passed this exam on his first try. So that just is a testament to how incredibly smart he is and incredibly knowledgeable in this field. And the other reason why I asked Dr. Bonner, out of all the other people I interviewed, is because he exhibited a quality that, to me, makes the perfect mentor. And that's that he really had an interest in helping students like me learn about this profession. He's so passionate about teaching and about education, and that's one of my favorite things about him. Now, I wanted to kind of take this time to walk y'all through some of my favorite experiences that I've had and some of my favorite mentor visits. And the first one I wanted to talk about was at the Dallas Veterinary Surgical Center, and it was a CAT scan on a kangaroo named Redcliffe. And this kangaroo had been having some neurological issues, so they thought it might have had a brain tumor. So they took it to get the CAT scan. And in this first picture, y'all can see that Dr. Bonner is trying to intubate the animal before he is put under anesthetics. And basically what intubation does is they put a breathing tube down the trachea so that the animal has a steady supply of oxygen during surgery, and it also prevents regurgitation in the airway. And in this next picture, you can see Redcliffe actually getting the CAT scan. So you can see this is the machine right here, and these are his IV and fluids. And then you can also see the different nurses and technicians that accompanied us on this visit to make sure it went smoothly. And unfortunately, Redcliffe is no longer with us. What showed up on the CAT scan is just a brain scan, and he was brain tumor free, but he actually had an adrenal gland tumor, which ended up being the sources of his issue, and that's something that would not have shown up on the CAT scan, and they really couldn't help. So it was probably best that he had a very quick and easy death.